This episode of Lawyers Tell All is brought to you by the Intake Academy. Do you know how to cement relationships with more of your ideal clients, get them to commit to you, and send you more referrals than you ever thought possible? Visit www.intakeacademy.com, where you will get the strategies you need to make the most of your marketing and advertising dollars. Plus, develop a team of intake specialists and attorneys who convert more qualified case opportunities and build meaningful relationships with prospective clients. Welcome to the Lawyers Tell All podcast, where Chris Mullins, the preeminent sales and communications consultant in the legal industry, shows you how it looks through lawyers' eyes. Here, innovators in the trenches provide powerful insights that help you connect with new clients, handle the sometimes harsh realities of the legal profession, and embrace the mindsets needed to succeed. Be sure to visit our website at www.lawyerstellall.com. And while you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now, lean in, tune in, and let's take a deep dive.
Hello, everyone. It's Chris Mullins with Lawyers Tell All, and today I'm interviewing Brooke Lively, and Brooke is going to tell you about herself. Go ahead, Brooke.
Thanks, Chris. I am Brooke Lively. I'm the founder of CathCap, and basically, we make law firms more profitable, and we do this by serving as a fractional outsourced CFO.
Mm-hmm.
So most lawyers didn't go to law school to learn how to run a business and rarely make data-driven decisions. So we come in and act as a chief financial officer and help you make strategic financial decisions to grow and scale your business more profitably.
Mm-hmm. And then came Exit on Top.
Yes. New book.
Yeah, new book. So tell us about that. How did that happen?
Okay, so truthfully,
Yeah.
I went to NTL about 2.5 years ago, and there was this woman from the Arizona Bar's ethics committee. And she was on a panel and she was talking about ABS's alternative business structures,
Mm-hmm.
which is what they call a non-attorney law firm in Arizona.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is a game changer.
Yeah.
It's going to make such a difference. And I thought that, coupled with the number of baby boomers that are retiring and the fact that attorneys are finally figuring out that these are businesses, they're not just practices,
Mm-hmm.
that it's a business that has value. Like, we're going to see more and more and more law firms changing hands
Yeah.
for money.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not just kind of being passed on, which we've seen a lot in the
Yeah.
past, but actually bought and sold. And and that's just going to increase even more when private equity really figures out how to come in and do that. So I thought, I need to help these attorneys prepare for the world that's coming.
Yeah, 100%. And that was 2 years ago, right?
That was 2 years ago. Took me a little bit of time to write the book. And then, we had to warehouse it because my team was like, you can't release this book yet. We're not ready.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, so let's just get right to, I think the whole thing is fascinating. Non-lawyer law firms. I mean, I just think it's like, wow. Right?
Well, in Chris, I don't know how much you remember about my story. I was running my family's law firm.
Mm-hmm.
And here I am, I'm building the 7-figure business, and I couldn't own any part of it.
Yeah.
And I was constantly being overruled by the attorneys.
Yeah.
Who always had the last say because they were technically the owners. And I found that so frustrating. Man, I could run the crud out of a law firm.
Yeah.
And just hire in that legal talent. And that's going to be a game changer.
Yeah. Huge.
A lot
Yeah.
of law firms.
Okay. So the first part of the book, I just want to say, sell your law firm to the right person at the right time for the right price. So Talk a little bit about the right person, right time, right price.
So I think the biggest thing that people need to consider, and I found this statistic, and can I cuss a little bit?
Yeah.
It shocked the shit out of me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a Price Waterhouse statistic. It's not the super newest study, but they did a study. They found that 75% of entrepreneurs that sell their business, and this is their phrase, profoundly regret it. Profoundly regret selling in the first 12 months.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
And I thought, I've seen this. And it happened to my grandfather. He retired for the first time at 39 and started like 15 more companies after that.
Yeah.
Because he profoundly regretted selling that company. And there are a few reasons. So I think the biggest question you have to answer is, why are you selling? Are you selling because you are retiring? Okay, that's great. But there are two reasons you sell when you retire. One is because and a lot of people do this, you've been reinvesting your profits over the years in growth, and maybe you didn't put enough away or enough, as much as you could have over the years, and you need a pop of cash to be able to retire. Okay, that's great. But you need to understand that that's what's going on. Maybe you're retiring and you want to sell because you want your employees to be taken care of, or you want your clients to be taken care of. You want to create that continuity for them. Okay, great. That's going to affect the way you sell. Maybe you're selling because you are such an entrepreneur at heart that you've got something else over here that you want to go do. And you need to cash out of the law firm to fund the next thing.
Yeah, right.
But understand why you're selling, because that will affect the buyer you look for, because you want to find that right match, because the last thing you want to do is sell to someone who's not a core value match. And that brings me to the second thing, finding the right buyer. And I've got a whole section on non-negotiables.
Yeah, I was just going to say the non-negotiables, yeah.
Yeah. What are those things that you would walk away from the deal over? That you would say, okay, I'm going to leave. I'm literally going to walk away from $2 or $3 million, or 4 or 10 or $30 million, whatever that number is, because the deal terms aren't right.
Yeah.
And you got to figure that out. And then if you have figured that out in advance, and there's actually an exercise that I have on my website that will help you do that. But if you figure that out in advance, then you can use that as a filtering device and not have to do due diligence with so many potential buyers, because you're like, oh yeah, no, you don't make it past my non-negotiables, so I'm not even going to talk to you.
Can you go to the non-negotiables in your book and just read a passage in there? And then make sure that you give the website that's got the exercise as well, with the link and everything too.
Sure. Let's see. What do you want to talk about?
Well, just maybe give some examples of non-negotiables or.
So I think the non-negotiables really kind of come down to 5 categories. The first is price. I mean, everybody's got price. It's the first thing. And price is going to be different depending upon why you're selling. If you are selling because you've got to fund your retirement, there's definitely going to be a number, and your money manager is going to tell you what that number is. And that's the number. You have to get at least this. If you're rolling it over to another business and you need to fund that other business, you know about what the number is. If you want to take care of your clients and your employees, that number may not be so important.
Mm.
And for a lot of attorneys, that is an ego number.
Yeah.
If it's an ego number, be aware that it's an ego number and at least acknowledge it. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it,
Mm-hmm.
but let's acknowledge that and realize that that ego could potentially get in the way of doing a deal.
Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So the next big category are the terms. And I think there's a great saying. You can have your price and my time and my terms, or
Mhm.
you can have your terms and my price, but you can't have both.
Right. Yeah. Right. 100%. Right.
So
Yeah.
what are those terms going to look like? Are you as a seller going to finance part of it? Is it going to be an all cash deal?
Mhm.
How long is the payout going to be? Is it going to be dependent upon the firm continuing to operate at, a certain revenue level?
Mhm.
What do those deal terms look like? And what are you willing to do? Are you willing to take a payout over, 2, 5, 10, 20 years?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You
Mhm.
may or may not. And for as many law firms exist on earth, there are that many deal terms.
Mm. Yeah. Right. Let me just say something. I'm willing to bet that some firms want to sell, and I don't know if they probably won't admit this out loud until we all find out later that because everything's broken, they can't deal with it and they just want to get rid of it.
Oh yeah. We call that dumping.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would imagine those deals don't really work very well.
Well, sometimes those firms do have something to offer.
Mhm.
They might have a great name. They might have some talent,
Mhm.
and it might be cheaper to buy them than it would be to try to go out and hire a headhunter and
Mm.
hire that many attorneys.
Mhm.
So there can be some value there.
Mm.
It's just, what caveat emptor,
Mhm.
buyer beware, like know what you're getting into. So it's all about doing that due diligence.
Yeah. Okay. Kind of like you can rent the law firm for a while, get it all fixed, and then you can pass it back to the original owner or something like that, right?
Right.
You just lease it or something like that. Okay. Let me, did you want to say something else about negotiations?
Well, okay. So I do want to say the other three things that you're going to look for in your
Yeah.
non-negotiables, it's going to be your team.
Yeah.
You're going to want to think about your team. Are there any guarantees that you want made about your team?
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a big one.
Yeah.
The next one is the transition.
Mm-hmm.
What's that transition going to look like? What are you willing to do in the transition?
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
then the last one is the post sale.
Mm.
That's a big one. Everybody thinks that they're going to get a check at the closing table. They all kind of think it's like buying or selling a house.
Right.
You're going to sign the papers,
Yeah.
hand over the keys, and be done.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Probably not. Yeah. Yeah.
You're usually in there anywhere from 6 months to 2 years. So some people sign on longer. In my experience, at a year, people are done and
Yeah.
they're gone.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But, decide how available you are willing to be and for how long. So
Mm-hmm.
those are the 5 different points.
Okay. Okay.
So
What page are the non-negotiables on? What page is that in the book?
So the non-negotiable chapter starts on 17. The
Okay.
list on page 20.
Okay.
And from there, it goes into detail on all the different 5 sections. But if you go to exitontopbook.com,
Okay. Yep.
it has what I call a non-negotiable exercise
Okay.
that helps you write a deal killer letter. And I love this. I learned it from a friend of mine who sold he had a computer company type thing. computer
Mhm.
services and IT services. And he had written basically a letter that said, here are all of my non-negotiables. And the minute anybody expressed interest in his company,
Yeah.
he's like, here are my deal killers. If you don't like them,
Yeah.
take one.
Mhm.
And he said that it cut down on the amount of due diligence.
Yeah.
So there's an exercise on the website that will help you create a deal killer letter.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really great. Okay. Let's see.
Wait, can I say one other thing about this,
Yeah.
Chris?
Yeah.
There are so many people that say, Brooke, I'm not ready to sell yet. Why would I be interested in this?
Yeah.
Here's why. A firm that is ready to sell, firm that's an attractive acquisition is actually the firm that everybody wants to own
Mhm.
because it throws off a lot of cash. It has happy clients and happy employees, and it has freed the owner up to do what it is that they love doing.
Mhm.
Whether it is spending their time in court, spending their time doing marketing, or
Mhm.
spending their time at home with their family.
Right. Mhm.
But it puts the owner in the driver's seat of what they're doing. And, things like your non-negotiables,
Mm.
that is a great way for you to really look at the culture of your company.
Yeah.
And are you executing on it?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. So like if you're not ready, but this is, I think, probably the same thing you're saying is you just get into this book and you realize what you have to clean.
yeah. And you might as well clean it now and enjoy it.
Right. You might as well get it done now. Right.
Because it'll take 3 to 5 years to get a firm ready to sell.
Yeah.
So prep it now
Yeah. Prep it now.
and then enjoy a great firm.
Right. Right. And then maybe you'll change your mind because things are just amazing, or maybe you won't, or maybe for all those reasons.
Yeah. Well, in the first story I tell in my book is about my family. And we played, ultimately, didn't realize this at the time, Love It or List It. Have you ever seen that program on TV?
Oh, yes. Real estate, right?
Yeah, real estate. There's
Oh,
a
yeah. Yeah. Love it. Yeah. I have. I don't really watch it, but I have. Yeah.
yeah, it's
Love it or list it. Yeah.
always on when I go get my nails done. Um, I
Good.
think it's on HGTV. But
Yeah. I like the brothers.
oh, you like the brothers? I don't.
Right.
That is not on when I get my nails done. Just for some reason, Love It or List It. So
Okay.
in Love It or List It, the couple gets an allowance. They get to redo a team comes in and redoes their existing house
Hmm.
based on the potential value of selling that house. They also get to go out and shop for a new house. After
Hmm.
the renovations are done, they have to decide, do they love their existing house or do they want to list it and buy the new house?
Hmm.
We kind of played that with my family's law firm. I thought we needed to sell. We spent a lot of time prepping it, getting it ready to sell.
Hmm.
And by the time we got there, my brother had absolutely fallen in love with the firm and didn't want to sell.
Oh.
We're like, okay, but here's the great news. It was more profitable, easier to run. It
Yeah.
was the firm he wanted to own.
Yeah. Running like a well-oiled machine, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's a big deal. Just even getting exit on top as an exercise of, do you have your house in order?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a couple of things. Let's see. I'm looking at my list here, what I want to talk about next. So let me just ask you this. So we all know selling a business, any business, you have to have, I mean, it has to be clean, but you got to have something to sell. And so you got to have clients. You got to have a solid intake team because that's the engine. And
Yeah.
so I don't know. I think that a lot of law firms still are working on their intake teams and getting it right. And I would imagine a good amount of them that want to sell or start that whole process, they realize even more what they have to do to fix intake and dive in. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so it is fascinating. I have a quiz.
Yeah. Okay. Is it in your book? Because I was looking for,
I do.
on page 12, it says intake and sales and,
Well, if you go look on page 55 is where it starts quizzing about sales and intake.
okay.
And the first question is, do you have a dedicated intake team?
Mm-hmm.
You need a dedicated intake team. It can't be one of those jobs that's just, okay, well, we're going to have, paralegal Pam do sales on Tuesday, and we're
Yeah.
going to have, Secretary Sally do it on Wednesday, and attorney, I can't think of an A name fast enough, attorney Allison do it on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
You need a
Yeah.
dedicated intake team.
Yeah. Right.
And then the second question is, do you have a process for finding and removing friction in that process?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how easy are you making it for clients to become clients?
Yeah.
How easy are you making it for your intake team to get people in?
Mm-hmm.
And then here's the really important one. Do you have a training system?
Yeah.
Or are you just saying, okay, go sell?
Yeah.
You can't just do that.
Mm-hmm.
Intake is so specialized.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to do intake.
Yeah.
You know how to do intake.
Right. Yeah, we do intake. So everybody, when you get the book, you should go to page 55. And even like right now, while you're watching this, you could just quickly write down, okay, so do you have dedicated salespeople or intake team members? And it's like 1 to 5 and for your score, and the highest, I guess, is a 5. And I would just do that. And then do you have a process for finding and removing friction in your sales and onboarding process? Same thing, 1 to 5. And then do you have a training system that includes sales training, software training, and empathy training? Same thing. And then just one more on page 56. How much effort from you does it take from you to drive sales? 1 to 5. I would just do that. Like, do it now.
Well, and there's one that you skipped.
Yeah. What one's that now?
Do your salespeople or intake team get regular feedback to improve
Oh,
performance?
right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know how important that is, Chris.
Yeah, 100%. And the easiest way to do it is record your calls and listen.
Yeah.
And then give them feedback. But not
And
like,
someone's got to do it.
yeah. Yeah. Somebody's got to do it. So perfect. Perfect. And you have to stop having your mom or your brother or your sister or your kids answering the phone and calling the intake team, the girls, and the gals in the back of the room and that sort of thing. Okay, so we have to fix intake. And then on page 15, you mentioned something about franchise. What was that all about?
Mentioned something about franchise on page 15.
Yeah, on page 15.
Oh, I was talking about leaving a legacy.
Yeah, with Johnny Cochran, and we were talking about
Johnny Cochran. Yeah. So, and that was just, what is it that you want to accomplish
Mm-hmm.
when you sell your firm? Why are you selling your firm? What are you doing? And one of them is because you want to leave a legacy.
Mm.
And when I think of leaving a legacy in the legal world via your firm, I think of Johnny Cochran's firm.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is a Cochran law firm in your city.
Yeah, right.
And if not, it's coming to a town near you, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He is long dead.
Mm.
It really operates like a franchise.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it operates now. Most people don't
Mm-hmm.
realize that.
Mm-hmm.
But the public still believes that if they hire the Cochran firm, that they're going to get the same kind of service and advocacy that they would have gotten if
Same
Johnny happened.
definition. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's legacy. So, if you want to create that kind of legacy, franchising your firm is a great way to do that.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Okay. And then you also on page 19, this is probably part of non-negotiables, I would guess. Yeah.
Mhm.
On page 19, you talk about walking away.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you mentioned it, but talk a little bit more about that. Like what kind of big deal? I mean, because we get really attached. So the walking away can be really an emotional moment, right? That lasts.
Yeah. And that's why it's so important to have your non-negotiables on paper
Mm-hmm.
and really figure it out before you go through this process. So I told you about my friend that sold his IT company. And he had a little note card that he wrote his non-negotiables on, and he carried it around in his pocket
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
for months and months and months and months and
Mhm.
months. And he'd pull it out and he'd look at it and he'd like scratch off one of the non-negotiables and he'd put something else on and then
Oh.
rearrange stuff and
Oh,
then
okay.
fold
Yeah.
it back up and he'd put it in his pocket. And then the card started to fall apart. So then he had to put it on a new card.
Yep. Yeah. It
And he did
changed.
this
Mm.
because he wanted to make sure that he had the right non-negotiables, because
Yeah.
you do get into this situation where you start to negotiate, where you're at the table and all of a sudden you are selling this thing
Mm.
that you have spent more time with than you have with your spouse and your family,
Mm-hmm.
more waking hours.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You have poured your heart and soul into it. It is your everything. It is your identity. And you start to make emotional decisions
Yeah.
as opposed to logical, reasoned decisions. And that
Mhm.
non-negotiables list is there to help keep you from making rash emotional decisions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because you can look at it and say, okay, I said my number was 5 million. Why am I sitting here all of a sudden getting upset that they're offering me 5.5?
Right. Yeah.
My rational mind,
Right. Yeah. Right.
5 million was the number. Don't pitch a hissy fit and walk away at 5.5.
Right. Exactly. But that's really cool. Like to, get the 3x5 card, write it out like as an early baby step process, because your non-negotiables as you live every day and you work in the firm every day changes, or the IT does, it just keeps changing. And then you realize this is the serious list. That wasn't.
Yeah, these are the ones that matter. These are the ones that 3 months later, I still care about. I don't care that they keep my logo blue once I sell the company.
Mm-hmm.
Really? I don't care what the logo looks like.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
However, if you haven't thought those things through and you're at the negotiating table
Mm-hmm.
and they say, oh yeah, we had this great idea. We're going to turn the logo purple.
Mm-hmm.
You might have a freak out moment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because this is such a personal thing that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to make that emotional decision. You want to know what the only things are that you will walk away from the table over.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also know if it's not on that list, you don't kill the deal over it. It's
Right.
not that important.
Right. Right. Just fold up the card and walk away.
It helps you prioritize.
Yeah.
Now, if they come in and your non-negotiable number is 5 million and they come in at 3,
Mm-hmm.
that makes it a very easy decision.
Right.
Bye.
Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm.
Unless you can structure this some way that I will end up with more cash after tax
Right.
at 3 million than I would have at 5
Right.
million.
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're magical somehow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm out at 3.
Yeah, you're out of 3. What do you think the ideal law firm size, at least right now, or success story is for selling size and practice area?
Um, well, let's take personal injury out at the moment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'll talk about them in a second.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that there are a lot of law firms that are selling that are doing revenue between, I don't know, there are some as low as 500,000, 750, but really kind of between 1 million and 5 million.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great place right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you know Tomlin Festi at the Law Practice
Yeah.
Exchange.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's awesome. And he's created an exchange, and you can actually now go on and see everything that's for sale and everything that people are looking for. So that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Law firms tend to sell for 2.5 to 4 times SDE. And SDE is seller's discretionary earnings.
Mm-hmm.
So what that means is your seller's discretionary earnings are, your your salary, your benefits, the
Mm-hmm.
value of your benefits, any taxes the firm pays, all your draws, and any personal expenses you run through the firm. Everybody does it.
Yeah. Right.
I
Yeah.
don't care. None of my business. That's between you, your tax person, and the IRS.
Mm-hmm.
But if you add all of that up, it's also what we call total owner comp. So your
Total, again, total what?
total owner comp, total
Okay.
owner compensation. So if your law firm's going to sell for 2.5 to 4x total owner comp, or SDE,
Mm-hmm.
You just know that going in. The more automated your firm is, the
Yeah.
more the firm runs without you,
Mm.
the more your firm, or the less your firm depends on your name and image,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right.
the
Mm-hmm.
higher the multiple. I mean, if it's Chris Mullins law firm and it's got your picture all over it,
Yeah. Not so good.
unless you can find a doppelganger named Chris Mullins,
Yeah.
it's
Not
going to
so
be hard to transfer that name.
right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, that's sort of what you're looking at for a normal law firm.
Mm-hmm.
Then we come to personal injury, and personal injury is a little different. So personal injury has 2 things. First of all, there's private equity out there, and private equity is buying personal injury firms, even outside of Arizona. And they're doing it by buying a management company that runs the firm, that gets paid a management fee.
Yeah. Okay.
And basically all the value of the firm is running through the management company. So they
Okay.
buy the management company.
Mm-hmm.
Because private equity's involved, it pushes the pricing up some.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing about personal injury is, and Chris, you know this, the day a case comes in, the day a matter comes in,
Mm-hmm.
we know what it's worth and we know exactly when it's going to pay out.
Mm-hmm.
So I can absolutely go in and value your inventory of cases and tell you exactly what your firm is worth.
Mm-hmm.
So where hourly or flat fee firms may value at a multiple,
Mm-hmm.
PI firms, we can actually value the inventory, and that's going to affect how the value is derived.
Mm.
So it'll still be a multiple, but it'll probably be a multiple plus.
It's not, it seems like there should be a course on this, like a class, like take it and it becomes
There is. It's called an MBA.
yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Okay, let me just see. I think time-wise, that's probably it. So what else do you want everybody to know? I mean, we already know about the book. We've already talked about the book. We've already talked about the therapy portion of the book, right? Right. So what else would you like everybody to know before we say so long?
I think really it's that this isn't just a book if you're selling. This is a book to help you create a better law firm that is a pleasure to own, that is more profitable, that allows you to do what you want to do with your life. Buying law firms is a great way to grow your firm. Acquisition is a fabulous strategy. As much as this book tells you what to do to sell your law firm, you can read it to see exactly what you want or don't want if you're buying a law firm.
Right. Yeah. It's a great business move, buying law firms.
Yeah. I had a client in Texas who bought a firm in Atlanta. Now, I panicked a little when she told me she found it on the internet on a Sunday afternoon, and she was just kind of cruising around. I was like,
ooh, that sounds scary.
There was panic. And she told me this, we were at DFW airport. She told me this. They called our flight, we boarded, and we were sitting like 2 rows apart. So I had to fly all the way to Mexico in a panic because
I was going to say, yeah.
She's going to like buy a law firm off the internet. So it turns out she had found it through the Law Practice Exchange. And I was like, oh, she found it through Tom. That's going to be fine. And then it turns out I actually knew the person. I knew the law firm she was buying. So
there you go. Yeah.
But she bought it because it was a practice area that was adjacent and complementary to what she had. She bought their knowledge in that particular, she bought their expertise. She bought the trainings and the expertise. And she wanted an office on the East Coast.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
And that's why she bought this firm. And it was a great expansion tactic for her. The thing cash flowed positively from day one. I mean, it was a wonderful thing to do.
Yeah, right. Awesome.
It was a great strategy.
That's great. That's a great story. What a great way to put a bow on it. It was really good. Really good. Okay. Well, so Brooke, what's the best way for everyone to get in touch with you?
Best way to get in touch with me is my website. It's cathcap.com, CATHCAP.com. And if you want to get any of these things I've talked about today, if you want to figure out how to value your firm, go to exitontopbook.com. There's a exercise that on there that will help you value your firm. That's going to take you through that quiz that we talked about that looks at all the different parts of your firm to figure out where you need to give it a little more love and attention and where you've got things pretty buttoned up. That's where the non-negotiables exercise is.
Good. That's perfect. That's perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris.
All right. See ya. So long, everyone. Chris Mullins with Lawyers Tell All. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Lawyers Tell All, where Chris Mullins takes you on a journey with lawyers in the trenches who show you the realities of what it takes to succeed in this chaotic, crowded, ever-changing profession. Remember to visit our website at www.lawyerstellall.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on Lawyers Tell All.